Welcome to the Lifelong Rivals Sports Podcast. I'm Zach Kaufman here with my good friend Ryan D'Amico. We'll close out with some final thoughts of the week here. I wanted to talk some dynasty fantasy football. I'm in 2 leagues here and had some interesting decisions this past week that I know I talked to you about. One of them, it involved a former Eagle there, so I'll get to that in a little bit. For those that don't know, dynasty football, it's like a keeper league, except you keep everyone from year to year. I have two different leagues that handle it a little bit differently. One of them, we have a 3-round rookie draft each year. And what we do is you draft your 3 players, and then within the next, I think it's 1 week, you have to drop 3 players. And it's a pretty deep league. So we have 23 player roster spots in that league. Only 2 IR spots for injured players, though, which made me come to a difficult decision this week. And then my other league is similar, except we have a 4-round draft. And at the end of the season, you have to cut your roster down. It's 25 roster spots. You have to cut it down to 21. And then you have a 4-round draft of rookies and free agents. So they're set up a little bit differently. But the general concept is if you have a great player, you keep them as long as they're a great player, or you trade them away. So I had 2 tough decisions this week. As I mentioned, one of the things in dynasty football, young players are the most valuable. They're if you get a good one, they're around forever. Like, I'm very excited to have Kareem Hunt in both of those leagues, and hopefully I can keep him for the remainder of his career and he continues to be great like this. But 2 guys I'm giving up on in dynasty football. Number 1, Jordan Matthews. I was looking at it in that league. I am struggling at receiver and still had no desire to start Jordan Matthews. And I got to think, I was just, why is this guy on my team? Why is he on my team? He's a former Eagle. I drafted him when he was an Eagle. Thought he would be productive. Has not happened. And he even scored a touchdown this past week. And just like I told you, I know we were texting about it during the game. I was very confident he'd finish with less than 10 fantasy points. And he did. He had that touchdown, only 10 yards receiving. Is there any hope that you see with Jordan Matthews after having watched him with the Eagles?
Not at all. You made the right decision, especially going to Buffalo. You made the right decision. I've never been in a dynasty league, but you probably never like to give up on players because it's like you're almost giving up on yourself and viewing your pick as a failure. But right. Sometimes you just got to cut a man loose, and I think you made the right decision with Jordan Matthews. He'll, I think, eventually just kind of fade off into the abyss. And he's been fighting some injuries the last year or so. And as we see with players' careers, you start dealing with injuries year after year. That really is going to set you back.
And it was a tough decision because, like I said, young players are so valuable. He's still only 25, but he's in a bad offense. He hasn't been productive since he had that one really good year with the Eagles. And like I said, I'm looking through free agency to try and pick up somebody who I'd rather start in front of him, which I've always been able to do. I just have no confidence in him. And the other guy I gave up on, like I said, I only have 2 IR spots for injured players in that league. And unfortunately, with Dalvin Cook getting injured, I already had both Kevin White and Kenneth Dixon in my IR. So I'm giving up on Kevin White. He's a former number 7 overall pick that in 3 years, he's played 5 games. Just hasn't done anything. He has the potential, but I just can't keep him around. I just don't see it coming to anything with this guy. I'd love to see it. He's another that's only 25 years old, but giving up on him in Dynasty.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. At some point, you just got to kind of cut a guy loose and cut your losses and say, look, it's just not working out. And and not say, okay, I'm waiting for this guy to come around, waiting for him to come around. No. And if you feel like that's what's going to happen, then you make the move and not sit there and say, well, what if he does come around? I don't want to be that guy that gets rid of him and then he bounces back. More times than not, you see it in the NFL. When a guy hits the wall and just it's not kind of coming together for him anymore, more times than not, it's going to stay that way. It's not going to kind of all of a sudden figure it out again. So I think you made the right decision on both moves, to be honest with you.
I agree. It's very, very rare. It has happened before with someone like Priest Holmes. It stands out. He was a backup for a long time, didn't really do much when he got some opportunities, and then became the best running back in the NFL for a couple of years. But most of the time at that stage, once they've played 3 or 4 years, they're kind of, you know what they are, especially someone like Jordan Matthews, who has had all the opportunity in the world. He's been a starter for the last 3-4 years since he's been in the league. He's consistently been one of the top receivers there on both the Eagles and now the Bills, and just hasn't been able to produce with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's interesting. The Dynasty League is something that probably going forward into next year is something I'll probably dabble with and maybe try to get into the league and just play around with it. It's nothing I've tried, and it's definitely interesting. It's definitely a pretty cool little twist that I think would be interesting, because I've done fantasy for as long as I can remember, so that would definitely be something to definitely look into, that I'll keep my eye on going forward as we get into next year. The only thing, Zach, I wanted to kind of add for the final thought is another fantasy related note, and it's more of like a vent session than anything. I have been really fortunate in my years playing fantasy football to not get bitten by the injury bug. Really hardly at all. No one that is like costing my season or anything like that. Nicks and bruises here and there, guys missing a game or two, but nothing like these season-ending injuries that we're seeing in the NFL. And it seems like every person I have, it's crazy. Like, I feel like I'm getting reprimanded for all them years that I've gotten fortunate and haven't had the injury bug bite me like it has this year, because I'll tell you, man, I'm getting really hammered. And I wrote down the names here of guys. Now I'm in 4 leagues, okay? So remember, this is spread out over 4 leagues. But even spread out over 4 leagues, I feel like this is a lot for people that have had season-ending injuries, 2 of which aren't season-ending, but they still have gotten hurt and have missed some time. Dalvin Cook, Julian Edelman, Allen Robinson, Jordy Nelson. Now, I have Jordy on there because he missed the one Sunday night game a few weeks ago where he played, I think, 8 snaps and then goes out, doesn't get me any points. I lose that game. All he needed to get me was like 5 points. If Jordy Nelson plays a whole game, he basically gets you 5 points. So because he gets a freak quad injury and misses the rest of that game, I lose that game. Wide receiver Kevin White, who I thought could bounce back and have a nice year, he's out for the year. Devontae Adams, we'll see how much time he misses with the concussion that he had on Thursday, getting carted off the field. And then tight end Greg Olsen for the Panthers. He's out for the year, or he's out for an extended period of time with a broken foot. So it's like, I don't know, man. It's crazy, and I'm struggling. I'm trying to stay afloat. One of my leagues, I'm 4-0. Another one of my leagues, I'm 2-2. And then 2 of my other leagues, I'm 1-3, which those 2 don't seem to have much hope. But 2 of which I'm sitting okay, and I'm hoping that I could kind of fight through these injuries. But it's tough, man. Week after week, when you see these guys going down, it's like, yeah, I have him in one of my leagues. That's a shame.
And I've been fortunate to be the opposite, where Dalvin Cook has been my first major injury. I have him in both of my dynasty one of my dynasty leagues, and then one of my leagues with some friends. And that definitely hurts. I don't feel your pain having that thorough of an injury list of guys, but definitely with him having to find replacements, and that's part of fantasy football. That's part of what makes it so enjoyable. What you can do to make those trades, grab that free agent, whatever it is to fill that position there.
Exactly, and that's what it's all about. I mean, that's a big X factor with fantasy football. You can draft a great team, but if guys are getting hurt, there's only so much you can do. But that's what separates the good players from the great players. Guys that can go out, make some trades, pick up those guys on the waiver wire, and insert them into your lineup, and that way you're not missing so much of a beat. So, good fantasy talk there to end the show. I'll be honest, man, I really don't have anything else to add this week. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff that we say every week. Share it, spread the word, do what you got to do. I'm going to make a bigger attempt to get this out there and put it out to Twitter and Facebook and that kind of stuff, to try to get it out there a little bit more. Now that we're kind of in the heart of football season, I'm going to try to do my best to get it out there as much as possible and kind of bring it to more people's attention.
Thank you so much for listening to the Lifelong Rivals Sports Podcast. We really appreciate it. We've changed some things up based on some of the feedback we've received, so we'd love to continue hearing your feedback as we continue to build this platform with our podcast. It's very helpful to us if you can share it with the people you know that you think would be interested. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and have a great week.